Okay, welcome to another M14 draft. We've opened a reasonable pack here. We have a few options. I think the best picks are probably Enlarge, Water Servant, Liturgy of Blood, and the Necromancer, which I think is probably below the Liturgy of Blood in terms of the black pick orders. Um, I think here the pick is probably going to be Water Servant. I think Enlarge is probably the better card, but it's fairly close, and blue is the better color in the format. So I'm going to pick Water Servant here, and I'm guessing the next pick will probably be Liturgy of Blood or the Necromancer. I think green is relatively underdrafted, not as much as white, but I think after white, I think green is probably the next underdrafted color. Um, so anyway, we're going to go with Water Servant and see what we get in the next pick. Okay, oh wow, so I think that's a fairly good signal. The rare was taken, the rare or the mythic, and it has to be pretty good to pass Opportunity. Opportunity is by far the best card in the pack, and luckily there are still some good other options for the person to my left. So I think if he did take the Liturgy of Blood, then he can follow that up with Quag Sickness, and may not take one of these strong blue cards next. Um, but yeah, we're definitely taking the opportunity here. I would have liked to have not seen these blue cards in the pack, but there's no way we can kind of pass up an opportunity here. It's very rare to see this card passed in this format, so I'm pretty happy with this pick here. Unless, of course, the person on our right has taken a Jace over it. I'm not really sure what else you would take over Opportunity in terms of the rare slot that's blue. I think this is probably better than Jace's Mindseeker. I can't really think of any other blue rares or even blue mythics that you take aside from Jace. So, so yeah, the reason I'm thinking this through is that hopefully the person on our right will know passing this card is going to solidify me into blue. So hopefully he will be trying to avoid that colour in the next few picks. This pick then, Archaeomancer, yeah, pretty much better than everything else in the pack, especially as we're already blue. I don't think there's anything else that we want to go into a different colour for. So yeah, Archaeomancer is the pick. Um, and here we're going to follow that pick up with Disperse. I think probably the strongest cards in the pack, probably Giant Spider or Dawnstrike Paladin, but Disperse is not that far away from it, and I think in this position it's just better for us to solidify into blue and to cut off any blue cards going left. So yeah, that's what we're going to take here. Oh wow, so we've got a fairly strong oh wow, we've got some incredibly strong cards here. For the Liturgy of Blood, again, that should not be going this late. Black is quite clearly open, and then also these blue cards also giving you the impression that blue is by far I think the most open colour that we're receiving. Um, this pick I think is difficult. I do want to solidify the person in my left into black. We've already passed Quag Sickness, Liturgy of Blood. I think taking this one, even though I think it's the strongest card, I think taking this is going to set up the draft to conflict in pack 2. So I think really the pick is between Messenger Drake and Archaeomancer. I think probably it's difficult. I think maybe Messenger Drake is the pick, so I'm going to take that. But I think it's very, very close with Archaeomancer, so I think the main concern here is that I want to get some creatures that can do stuff and block. Here then, again, some other options. We're going to have to pick a different color card. It's going to be either white or... Actually, there are a few options. I think Ranger's Guile is good, but perhaps not in the deck that we're drafting. Dawnstrike Paladin, again, I think a good solid defensive card. Gnawing Zombie, I don't think it's going to be very good in our deck, mainly because we're not really going to be drafting a lot of early creatures, and I think Gnawing Zombie is a lot better in in red-black Sacrifice than it is in blue-black. And then Congregate, which is a fine card if you're drafting the Angelica Chord deck, but I think at this point we can't really commit to that. I think here then, I think I'm going to take, yeah, I'm probably going to take the Dawnstrike Paladin. I'm not really sure what colour I'm going to end up, but I think I'd like to avoid black if possible. And here I think it's going to be between Elite Arcanist, Angelic Wall, possibly even the Naturalize. I've never played Elite Arcanist, and I don't really want to be in a position where I'm playing that card. But having said that, yeah, I think maybe the Angelic Wall might be the strongest card here for the deck that I'm trying to draft, which is essentially a card advantage deck. So Angelic Wall is probably the pick, though I generally don't play this card, but if we do end up going white-blue, I think this card would be playable. Okay, and some other cards then. Again, I guess Alter the Reap is fine, but I'm just going to take the Sentinel Sliver. Yeah, I think Sentinel Sliver is probably the best card here. Okay, again we have some other options. Soulmender, I've never played Soulmender, even in Angelica core decks. This card really makes the cut. But then the same for a lot of the other cards. I don't think we're drafting a Glade Cover Scout deck. I think I might end up taking here the Flesh Pulper Giant. I've not played with this card before, but I think if we were to go into red, that card may be useful. And that's an incredibly late Archaeomancer, so pretty happy to get that. Also worth noting that Academy Raider is still in the pack, also Elixir of Immortality, but this card might suggest that red is more open than perhaps we would have thought from the earlier picks, but Archaeomancer is definitely the pick there. I think here we don't have any enchantments to bring back, but I think Auramancer is probably stronger than Pay No Heed. I think we'll get a few more of these later if we go down that route, but Auramancer is going to turn on pacifisms, claustrophobias if we do get those cards. So yeah, Auramancer is what I'm taking. I think Bramble Crush probably the best card in here, and I think Divine Favor may be what we want. And okay, right, so this pack went reasonably well. I think we got some very good late blue packs. Unfortunately, we didn't. Sorry, some late blue cards. Unfortunately, we didn't get as many blue cards as perhaps we could have. Things like Cancel, Scroll Thief, both those cards were taken at some point on the table, so it's not like we're the only blue drafter, but I think we're in a pretty good position on the table to draft blue. Here we're going to take the Mindseeker. I think the only card that's fairly close to it is probably the Chandra's Outrage, but yeah, there's no reason to try to go into a different colour when we still have a very good blue rare here, so yeah, the Mindseeker is the pick. And right, so we don't have any blue cards here, again except the Arcanist, but I don't think it's that great, and we don't really have instants to make it work at the moment, except for possibly Opportunity, but I don't really want to put an Opportunity on an Arcanist. I think the options here are to either stay on the blue-white plan and take either Solemn Offering, Pay No Heed, or Sentinel Sliver. We also have the option of drafting Bubbling Cauldron, which I think is perhaps not terrible. I think it would make more sense if we were to get an Angelic Accord. Or there's also the Academy Raider, but that would involve giving up the white that we've drafted. Or there's also Ring Flesh. Yeah, this pick is surprisingly difficult. And I think at this point, I think I want to take maybe a gamble on Academy Raider. I think normally I'd probably be inclined to take Ring Flesh, but based on the amount of black cards we've passed, I think black is going to get cut quite heavily in the second pack. And here then, we've kind of been rewarded to an extent for jumping into red by two fairly strong red cards. I don't think Master of Diversion is that great in the deck that we're drafting, so I don't think that's an incentive to stay in white. Shock, however, is probably going to be quite good in the deck that we want to draft. Young Pyromancer would be a good card to get on the lap. I think it's fairly unlikely that we're going to manage to table this, but I think this would be better potentially if we were to draft an instant heavy deck. At this point we can't really commit to that, and I think just taking the instant in shock is probably the correct pick in this moment in the draft. Maybe not if this was in pack 3 and we'd already had enough instants to make Young Pyromancer work. But yeah, shock is definitely the pick there. Okay, so a few options here then. I think Nephalia Sea Kite is almost certainly the pick. Yeah, I think it's better than Phantom Warrior and better than the second Disperse. Hopefully we'll get one of these cards back on the lap, but we'll see. Okay, right, so not many options in this pack. We have either the Frost Breath, the Rod of Ruin, or nothing else really. I think here I'm probably going to take the Rod of Ruin over the Frost Breath, although I guess there is an argument to be made for Frost Breath. I think I'm going to take the Frost Breath here. I think the deck is already set up to gain enough incremental advantage with things like Archaeomancers, Messenger Drake, Opportunity. I think maybe Frost Breath is going to be better just to shore up some of our early game, and even though it's card disadvantage in a control deck because you're not pressurizing them, so you're not really getting that much of a benefit, it's I think worth you playing that card when you're running multiple Archaeomancers, because then you can recoup the card disadvantage from playing this card as a defensive spell. Here, Time Ebb again, by far the best card for us in the pack. Nothing that we really want here. And again, I think Wall of Frost is a pretty late gift. Yeah, I think Wall of Frost by far the best card. Here, so here we have a few options. I don't think we're ever going to play Wild Guess, mainly because I think it's quite a heavy commitment on the red side. Let's just look at our spells here. I think potentially then the cards are probably either Lightning Talon, which I think is pretty strong, if we were to stay with red, Congregate, which I think is good if we were to draft an Angelic Accord, but I think I'm going to just take the Lightning Talons here. Lightning Talons on a Academy Raider is surprisingly effective. I think Molten Birth, probably the pick here, or possibly even Cancrix. No, I think I'm going to take the Molten Birth here. I'm a bigger fan of this card than I was of Wild Guess. I think I'd be more inclined to play this card, even though it's double red, than I would be for playing Wild Guess. So, yeah, I think this card probably over Cancrix. And here I'm going to take the Firecat. And here probably just a Glimpse of Future. I think we're just going to round out the picks. Oh, two interesting options here. We have Staff of the Mind Magus, which is good in mono blue, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. But I think perhaps maybe 13. Yeah, I think maybe the Lightning Talon. I don't think we can justify playing the Staff. So I think, yeah, the Talon's probably the pick. If we had more late blue picks, we probably could have taken the Staff and looked to have gone mono blue, but I don't think we're going to be in that position here. Yeah, it's slightly unfortunate that we've been past and we've opened solid blue cards, but nothing that's really we haven't got a lot of late pick blue cards aside from that Archaeomancer. Here then the options are between Thorncaster Sliver and Scroll Thief. I think probably the Scroll Thief is what we want to take here. It's also going to interact well with our Lightning Talons by letting him force through damage. So I think probably the Scroll Thief is what we're taking. We don't have any slivers yet to trigger this. So yeah, Scroll Thief is the pick. Right, so we have two options, I think. We have either the Train Condor or the Blur Sliver. I think Train Condor is probably the pick to go with Scroll Thief again. Um, I'm 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 not really a fan of this card, uh, but I think if it's got Scroll Thief then, and also Academy Raider against opposing red decks, I think it kind of deserves its slot. Okay, so so that's a pretty nice gift there that we've got the Flames of the Firebrand. Um, Also worth noting that um, I think one of the reasons that we can get this pick is in the first pack we were past a fairly late Academy Raider, which was an indication that red was slightly more open than the pack suggested. Even though we didn't see a lot of red, we got that late, which I took to mean that red wasn't that drafted on the right. It was just the cards weren't there. And I think this is probably a confirmation of that idea. I don't think we should normally get this if either one of the two drafters on the right are red, because this is one of the strongest uncommons in the set, if not the strongest cards in the set. So yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, here then. I think I'm probably going to take the Seacoast Drake, which is by far better than Coral Merfolk. Yeah, Seacoast Drake is undoubtedly the pick. Oh, and this is also another decent pick. I think Marauding Moorhorn is one of the better red commons, so yeah, this is fine. Okay, so nothing really here that we want. Just checking the triggered abilities for Stronic Resonator. I guess two things flying. No, no. Yeah, no, I think probably the pick is going to be Molten Birth or Armored Cancrix. Um, I think perhaps the Cancrix is the pick. We already have one of these. Um, Actually, no, I think I'm going to take Molten Birth on the strength of drafting two Lightning Talons. I think putting Lightning Talons on a token is going to offset the inherent card advantage in auras. So, yeah, that's fine. Disperse, yeah, I think, yeah, Disperse is the pick here. And here we have Dragon Egg versus Negate. We don't have any ways of sacrificing Dragon Egg. Um, yeah, nothing that we can do to force that Dragon Egg to die. Um, I think maybe Negate is probably the pick here over Thunderstrike. We don't really have that many early creatures to target Thunderstrike with, so yeah, I think Negate is the pick. And Goblin Shortcutter, yeah, it's unfortunate I guess that I was intentionally avoiding black because it does seem that black was more open, but I think given our the first pick that we let through with Liturgy of Blood and then Necromancer, I don't think we could have realistically gone into black, but it's just unfortunate that that color was open. Right, I think Millstone is probably the card that we want here. Millstone is very good against opposing control decks, as is another late negate. Okay, so we'll just round out our packs here. So round out our picks. But we seem to have got a reasonably good blue-red deck. Perhaps not fantastic, but we have two removal spells, a lot of bounce. Yeah, I think this is fine. Mm. I think what might be interesting about this particular deck is I was originally drafting it as a control deck, but I think it may also function um, as a tempo-based all eggs in one lightning talons dot deck. Oh, okay. So, resonator last pick. I'm not sure that's going to go in our deck, but it's nice to have the option. Anyway, so I think with our double copies of Negate and double copies of Molten Birth, it's not inconceivable that we could actually be a tempo-based deck that just tries to protect a taloned creature and ride it to victory. Okay, so that's, I think, or this is going to be the base of the deck. Okay, so the cards that we can remove, I think perhaps we'll start by removing Goblin Shortcutter. Even though we're light on creatures, we do have 15 with the double Molten Birth. I don't think a 2-1 for 1 is the way this deck really wants to go. I think aside from that card then, I think the cards to remove are, we can also possibly remove one Molten Birth, mainly because of the double red requirement. I think blue is going to be our dominant color here, so we would like to avoid playing too many double costed red cards. I think it's worth having the one copy and also the Marauding Warhorn, which I think is better. But I think maybe the second copy is unnecessary. Let's also take that card out as well. I think perhaps also the second copy of Negate, maybe not worth it. And then aside from that, I think it's then down to, I'm considering removing the Firecat, which I don't like. I think there's lots of stuff in this format that kills the Firecat without it really doing too much. I mean, obviously things like Shrivel, Ringflesh, the Staff, lots of things can kill this, but not only can a lot of things kill it, but a lot of things can trade with it as well. So it can get stopped by a Llanowar Elf, for instance, or an Archaeomancer, or anything really that has one power. So yeah, I'm not really. I think Molten Birth is probably better than Firecat, just because I think Molten Birth at least gives you the opportunity to get some card advantage from it, and also if you were to put a Lightning Talons on a Molten Birth token, and then that token is dealt with, then you still have the 1/1 left over. Whereas this, I think, putting a Lightning Talons on this creature, I think it'd be very effective if the opponent didn't have removal or trick, but it's so easy to deal with that I think it would be too luck based to maybe rely on that card. So yeah, I think I'm happy with this build. We've got 13 creatures. Perhaps therefore 13 creatures may not be enough to justify double lightning talons. Um, Having said that, lightning talons just makes our scroll thief and academy raider that much better. Although no, I think if you look at this deck, like every deck is going to have some amount of removal, and the creatures that are going to draw the removal are going to be things like Scroll Thief and Train Condor. So putting Lightning Talons on one of those cards is asking to be 2 for 1. I mean, I guess you could put Lightning Talons on a card like Archaeomancer, which automatically gives you the card advantage back. Um, Actually, yeah, I'm going to keep the Lightning Talons in. I think we do have enough creatures that can offset the disadvantage of being 2 for 1. Um, yeah, I think I'm happy with that. I think maybe Frost Breath might be a card worth removing. Um, no, I think I'm probably going to stick with this. Um, well, actually, no, I am going to take out Frost Breath, I think, and bring in the Fire Cat. Just I think to get that extra creature, and also to luck into the um, chance that the opponent doesn't have removal, and then we get to go in with a 7/1 first striking creature. So okay, that's going to be the deck. Magic Online suggests 11-6 split. I'm going to up this to 10-7, mainly because of the double red that we have. Okay, that's the deck. Let's see how it goes.